But I think when we look at how the economy has changed too, I'm interested to kind of hear. We're looking at brands, and we're looking at how social media has changed things. What do brands need to focus on in the future now, as we're kind of moving into a new era of media to communicate to their public? Because I think, to me, and I may be totally wrong about this, I think the influencer idea is getting played out a little bit. I think the way people are communicating is changing. How do brands change to communicate the right way as well?
Well, I think that it hasn't changed. There are segments of it in terms of how people are getting their information, obviously, that are changing. But I think making sure that you stay with your existing audience is really critical. And I think it's also really important to be aware of what's going on around you. So I think that there's words, there's messaging that you want to make sure, even if that isn't necessarily your audience. I don't think you want to jump in and act like you're supporting a certain group of people, for example, when you've never shown that you've ever supported them over time. Like, I think that's another piece. So you can't go, for example, looking at, a brand, for example, like Hint, you can't be in, focusing on a consumer that is primarily female and millennial, and then all of a sudden just only start focusing on Gen Z. Because you've heard Gen Z is like, you have to figure out, how do you storytell around that, and how do you bring in like the reason why you're focusing on this group of people, and why you think that you could solve a problem for that group of people as well. Otherwise, I think you come off as being, very inauthentic. I mean, we're in a time right now, again, where I think that it's also, even if you think that there's only a small percentage of people who think a certain way, those people could be your loudest and your worst nightmare on social, right? And I think that you just have to, and you have to be ready to defend sort of why you're acting that way too. That if you just think, oh, well, it's not going to be a problem. If you think that there's a possibility of something being a problem too, I think that, you really have to be prepared to speak to that. And if you're not, as a, CEO, as a CMO, then I think that that's, it's going to bite you in the butt.
Kara, you're having a lot of conversations. You're working on a lot of cool stuff.